a skill. A skill about loving the saints and understanding them and being one with them. We live in an age where people are probably lonelier than any other time. There's such loneliness. Many people, their major interaction with people is through social media. And they do things that give their brain a little jolt of dopamine, and then it's gone. And then they need more and they need more. People have empty lives, even Orthodox Christians, many Orthodox Christians. But if we have family, then you feel part of something. That's part of the big problem in modern day is people are so disassociated from their roots. I mean, I live in the Dallas area. I grew up in the Chicago area. There's only one person from my family left in the Chicago area. My sister's in California. My story is much like yours, probably. Many of you, probably most people, don't live in the city that they grew up in or the area they grew up in, et cetera, et cetera. We're so disconnected. People used to grow up and they were in one place, which had good things and bad things, but you certainly had family. And now families are so broken, especially because of divorce, et cetera, and the mobility that we have. People feel very alone. But you shouldn't feel alone if you're a Christian. And what I would advise you to do is develop love, nurture love for particular saints. And I base that on, well, the epistle to the Hebrews today. That is about the Sunday of the All Saints of Russia. Wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. There's a great cloud of witnesses. We have only a small portion of them on our walls, but they're not just on our walls, they're with us. They're with us celebrating the liturgy. They're aware of what we say. Now, people might say, how can it be that there are 10 million people that address a prayer to the Theotokos and she hears every one? Yes, she does. Because the Theotokos is not subject to earthly physics anymore. Certainly that's impossible to hear 10 million voices. Even a computer couldn't hear 10 million voices at once. But the saints can hear everyone. Last week, Father Nicholas said something that really kind of stuck with me. It was just at the end. So he said that whenever you say a prayer to the saint, he hears it. And so if you say a prayer to all saints, everyone hears it. And what do? They pray for you. So then he said, all saints pray for us. Can you imagine what was happening right then? All the saints, everyone, the known and unknown ones, and more of them are unknown than known, they all heard, pray for us. And they did. What an amazing thing. How can we feel alone when we have everybody praying for us? And if you have particular saints that are close to you and you pray to them, they have a relationship with you. I remember when I went to the monastery many times. I've gone to the Hermitage of the Holy Cross many times. I don't know if I'll make it this year or not. It always seemed like I went around the time of St. George, and right after Pascha. And they would read at the Tropasa this account of, I think he was a Bulgarian monk. Could be wrong about that. But he was a monk who loved St. George and had prayed to him every day and done prostrations asking his prayers every day. Loved St. George very much for years and years and years of his life. Then he died, and he had this vision where this beautiful youth came to him and showed him all the things of heaven, and then showed him hell and talked to him, and etc. And he was confused. Who is this person? And St. George says, don't you know me? You've been praying to me every day of your life. St. George had been very much aware of everything this man had wanted. Now, he did come back to life, and then he told this story. It's a beautiful, beautiful story. And because of that, we have a great veneration in our parish for St. Panteleimon, because the monastery has a great veneration for St. Pantaleon. There's icons of him everywhere, shrines to him everywhere. And they really wanted to name the monastery to St. Pantaleon, but they weren't allowed. So because of that, and my closest to the monastery, I started to have a great veneration for St. Pantaleon. Because seeing how you pray to the saint, he has a relationship with you. He knows you. He's with you. You might have another saint that's very close to you. Many people are very, very close to Matrona of Moscow, or to St. Seraphim of Sarov. I have a great closeness to Timothy of Esfigmeno. I don't know exactly why, except he showed such courage. He gave up his life for his friends, that is, for his wife, and even ran away from his children. I've told that story many times. I'll probably tell it next week because I can't really stop from telling that story. He'll be commemorated next week. And so I feel that, I don't know, there's something in my sort of intuition tells me I'm going to have something happen in my life where I'm going to have to make a really hard choice because I'm a Christian. I talk about that we're going to have hard choices, and I don't think ever really, up to now, I've really had a hard choice. Not a really hard choice. I mean, I've done hard things before, but not compared to what other people have gone through and what people will be going through. And my great hope is, again, using hope in the Christian way, I'm not wishing for it. I'm believing that St. Timothy will help me. When there's a real time, when there's a hard choice, something where there's going to be great loss or great pain or something, that St. Timothy will strengthen me. Because I've been praying to him every day, usually doing a prostration unless I feel too lazy. So there's this great group of saints. You hear them when I do the last exclamation at the end. All those saints, I basically will do a prostration to them when I begin my prayers, or near the beginning of my prayers. And I would advise you to develop a relationship with the saints. This is something that people outside the church, and even many people inside the church that don't really have a understanding, they're not really well churched, they don't understand. You can have a relationship with the saints. Now, you might not hear them talking to you sometimes, maybe you will. But they're aware of everything. They're aware of your needs, your inner needs. They're even aware sometimes, with God giving them that intuition, of the things you need that you don't even know you need. Now, it's not like they're big mind readers or anything. Saints can't read your mind, and neither can the devil. But God can reveal things as needed. So this story about St. George and this monk, it's so beautiful that St. George knew everything about this monk. Everything. He'd been with him every single step of the way throughout his entire life. And we need that. You and I need that. So everybody's got different preferences. I know tomorrow has a great attachment to St. Luke the Surgeon. And many of you have attachments to other of the saints. It doesn't matter if it's a saint that's really well known or not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you cultivate a relationship with them. Now, how do you do this? I do it with prostrations. I mean, I do everything with prostrations. I mean, that's the answer to almost every question, right? If you say prostrations with love, you've covered every answer possible. You do prostrations. Maybe every day. Holy Matrona of Moscow, pray for me, and do a prostration. Also, you can sing the Troparion. You can sing the Akathist or the Canon. Those are all good things to do. Perhaps when you have some trouble, you could beg for help. Do you know that book that the children will know it, and maybe some of the parents, about the bear, Saint Peter of Krutitsa and the bear? It's a beautiful little children's book. And it's just wonderful. You should read that book to your children 1,000 times. And if you do that, you might start catching up to me, because I've read it probably that many times. And when he gets thrown off the train and he dusts himself off, he's thrown into a snowbank, and he survives the fall. And then what is the first thing he says? Most Holy Theotokos, help me. And then he gets out his chotki, and he starts praying the Jesus prayer, walking, starting to freeze to death. and meets the bear, etc. This is based on a true story. We don't know exactly, how he survived, etc. What we do know, he did sleep in a bear, in the folds of a bear who had woken up during hibernation, and he survived because he was in the midst of the bear's fur. Which, of course, come on, those things don't happen, do they? Oh, yes, they do. God can do anything for us. God can tell a bear to go become a bed for a saint. He can do it. And he did. So, but the beautiful thing is that St. Peter, of course it's fictionalized. Maybe he said this, maybe not. But it's very common for people, especially that have been raised in a pious way, and most of us have not, just to say, oh, most holy Theotokos, save us. Or asking prayers of another saint or something, in any circumstance in life. I would recommend to you that you develop this skill and cultivate it. For some of you, it might seem very strange. I was raised Roman Catholic, and it was very saccharine and stale to me. I didn't like it because there was no life in it, and I rejected it when I was probably in maybe 6th grade or something, or 7th grade. I stopped going to church, and my mother would go to church, and my father would be home making breakfast. I'd be downstairs watching Star Trek reruns. The old Star Trek, And we won't get into debate about which is best. But that was my Sunday. Watch Star Trek reruns until my mother came home, and then we'd have breakfast. And now I don't remember what I was going to tell you about being a Roman Catholic. How about that? That's the trouble when you start going. Those who know Michael Dom, sometimes I'll say, Mike, what do you think about the sermon? He says, well, you're going pretty well. Then you went down this rabbit trail and I lost you. So I guess I wasn't that important to tell you that particular thing. But we have to have a life with the saints. We have to have feel their presence in our life. And you have to cultivate that. You have to cultivate that by the things that you do. And if you do that, you don't feel alone. It's going to get harder. If you had a nickel for every time I say that, you'd get rich. It's going to get harder. But it's easy if the saints are with us. Not that it's going to be not hard, but we're going to get through it. Because the saints got through it. And they know everything that's going to happen. So when I'm in my moment of great need, St. Timothy's going to be right there. And when you're in your moment of great need, the saints that you have some special affinity to, they'll be right there too.